Bolts Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Bolts Block Party. I am your co-host, of course, always joined by the very stout Braydon Coburn, and we are, of course, celebrating 30 years of Tampa Bay Lightning hockey this season, and we figured, Kobe, we can't just bring all the new guys on. We got to bring some of the veterans of the squad, and it's our pleasure this morning to welcome back here to the arena Vinny Prospal. Thank you, Vinny, for taking the time to speak with Kobe and I this morning. I do want to say this for the fans that may not know, Vinny Prospal, right? Because we have a whole new generation of Tampa Bay Lightning fans, especially in the last, I'd say, decade, right, Kobe? So let's just go through some of your background for our newer fans, Vinny. You were drafted by the Flyers, 1993 entry draft. You were third overall, the 71st overall pick. And elite prospects back then said you were a smart player who could play any forward position, excellent hockey sense and puck handling ability, played 16 years in the National Hockey League for the Flyers, the Senators, the Panthers, the Lightning, the Ducks, the Rangers, and the Blue Jackets. You were with the Bolts 01 through 03, back in 05 to 08, not the Stanley Cup year, which we'll talk about that. Then you went to Philly in 08, back to the Bolts in 09, the Rangers 09 to 11, and Columbus 11 and 12. I have to ask, especially because both of you guys have played for numerous teams, is it hard, Vinny, to get acclimated to any one team when you are bouncing around the league like that? Is it difficult? Was it difficult for you at that time?
First of all, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be back at this arena. It's a great place and a lot of great memories.
Sure.
And I go right to answer the first question. It's a little bit tougher when you have a family.
Yeah.
When you drag along somebody with you. If it's just you just pack the suitcase and you go. You pack they pack the hockey bag for you and you go.
Yeah.
But when you have a family, when you have children, younger kids, to this day, I remember when I didn't after 2 years in with the Rangers, I wasn't re-signed, but I signed with Columbus, and my son was back then. I think he was 12 years old. And he goes, "Oh, I'm not going. I'm staying in New York. All my friends are in New York." And that's a kind of thing that hits you in the heart. But also, I was very fortunate because I have a supportive wife, supporting family, and they eventually would go with me everywhere. And I think it's every player's dream, any sport, to have the supporting cast around you that they would follow. They would follow you anywhere because it's it's a sacrifice.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it's a great way to provide for your family.
Absolutely.
And it's those years go by really quick.
Well, I had the opportunity to play with you, Vinny, and Philly when you got traded to us in 07, 08. And I think one of your best attributes, and probably helped you along all these other teams, was you walk into a dressing room, your energy is amazing. And, you walk into this room and your energy is amazing. You're somebody that I think as teammates you want to be around. You have like 1,000-watt smile all the time, whether it's a game, practice. You have this passion for hockey that is contagious. Sure. It really is. It goes through the dressing room, and I'm sure that helped you in every dressing room you walked into.
I mean, it's obviously when I was 18 years old and I first came here, the language was the issue. But then you get more acclimated. You get to meet the guys. Now looking back, I get back to the point of the question. But like looking back, what's really remaining? The friendship, the knowing how many players you played with, how many great guys you met along the way. And I'm not just saying the players, but it's the trainers, it's the people around the team, it's the coaches.
Sure.
Sometimes you have a coach that you don't really get along with while you're playing for him, but later on you bump somewhere into him and you guys have a great conversation.
Are you talking about Tortorella by chance?
John Tortorella? Torts is a great friend.
I'm sure.
I mean, I'm not, even though I was a jerk. It was not just to him. Sure. Maybe it was to some other coaches, but Torts is a great guy. I consider him, first of all, a great friend, great individual with a huge heart that a lot of people don't know anything about.
Right.
And in our sport, I think he's an amazing coach. amazing. But sometimes the guys, the players, they're not smart enough to realize it at that time.
Sure.
Because they may be just looking out for their own interest.
And not the team so much,
So
right?
going back to Kobe is like, it's great to meet new people, new players, new teammates. And it's when I ended up going to Philadelphia for my second go around, it was hard because 3.5 months we had a great run into the semis.
Yeah, conference finals.
Yeah.
But I was 3.5 months alone in the hotel room. That sucked.
Yeah.
Because 2 kids and my wife were here because they were in school already. So that sucked. But on the other hand, I played for my former teammate,
Right.
John Stevens. He was our head coach, and he was my captain with the Philadelphia Phantoms, so that's amazing. You get to meet a younger generation of Flyers. You were there. Kimmo Timonen was there, even though he was a little bit older. But Richie,
Yeah, Mike Richards, Jeff Carter.
Jeff Carter, Hartsey now, who works for
Scotty Hartnell.
on TV for the Flyers, right?
Yeah, Upshaw.
Danny Briere, Scotty Upshaw. The younger generation of the Flyers that I did not meet my first time there.
Sure.
Because back then it was, Eric Lindros, Eric Desjardins, Johnny Leclerc, Ronnie Hextall, who now is a GM.
Right.
Garth Snow was a GM. You get to, experience, and you get to tell your children, I played with this guy. We know one another. So it's like heading back to that, to answer that question, it's great to meet other guys.
Sure.
And it was all about hockey. Because even though you have a different jersey on, it's still the game of hockey.
Sure. It's brotherhood.
And it's, it's the best thing in the world.
So it's crazy to me, Kobe, statistically, still to this day, you are still one of the top offensive talents for the Lightning in goals, assists, and as a result, overall points. You ready for this, Kobe? We know the firepower that our Tampa Bay Lightning have had over the 30 seasons that we've been around. You, to this day, remain in the top 10 for overall points. You're actually 10th on the list at 371. As for assists, you're number 8 on that list with 244. Points per game at 8th place, 9th place on goals created per game, and 10th in adjusted assists all time. And it's not like you were here 10 years. You were here in a small window, but made such a major impact in your time here. Talk to us a little bit about the time you had here and some of the guys, Vinny, Marty, some of the guys that you had a chance to play with.
I was fortunate because I played with some great players. You have to be lucky. You have to be fortunate.
Yeah.
And the other day we had our alumni meeting here with the Lightning.
Yeah.
And I heard the phrase there, you play one game in the NHL and you alumni.
Right.
And it's, I'm happy that I played in, let's say, so many organizations because, you get to meet, again, a lot of people. You get to meet new teams, new places. Family knows, the kids have been around, stuff like that. But I also, in a way, there's a bit of jealousy for, let's say, some players. Dustin Brown, for example.
Yep.
His jersey retired, right? Put into rafters. Statue in front the rink and everything like that. Let's put the statue away. But it's amazing accomplishment if somebody can do it with one organization.
Right.
And you mentioned Vinny, you mentioned Marty. Even those guys didn't do it.
Right.
I think Stammer, from that time is still the only one. Hetty is still the only one, who is with the one organization. So there's a lot of guys. There's not too many guys that are able to do it.
Right.
So, you just have to be fortunate, and I'm very proud of let's say some of the accomplishments that you mentioned, but it's not what remains. What remains is a friendship.
Right.
What remains is the memories. What you have gone through. Some of the games, some of the battles. And I know you guys mentioned that I missed out on the cup here. I wish I had the crystal ball, but
Right.
I didn't come to agreement regarding the contract.
Sure.
And
It's life. I
just
guess.
couple nights ago, I'm watching the Super Bowl, and I'm not watching the winning team. I'm watching the losing team, because with the Flyers, 1997, when I got called up, we went all the way to the finals, and there were some amazing hockey players on that team. And I look at after we lost to Detroit, we got swept. I look at the locker room, and some older guys are crying. I go like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's just a game. Now I know why they were crying, because you never know if you get back, if you win that thing.
Right.
And I never got back into the final. Semis was as far as I ever gone again. And I missed out on the one with the Lightning. And it's once you win one, hopefully this doesn't sound bad, but people look at you different way,
Sure.
because they say you're a winner.
Right.
And if someone, we mention Jeff Carter and Mike Richards, they won multiple ones, but they didn't win them with the Flyers.
Yeah.
They had to go
Somewhere
to
else.
LA.
Right.
But let's put it here. Vinny, he has won
Right.
in here.
But then went to
Stammer,
LA, right? Right.
But look at the Lightning now. I mean, the way they have been playing, it just blows my mind. They can actually keep it up with the salary cap and losing the players.
Right.
Not getting injured, even though Kucherov missed that one season and came back and played out of his mind after he had his hip replaced or whatever that happened. It's just unreal.
Right.
Unreal, but it's just amazing. So heading back to those numbers, it's great. I'm very proud of it because we live here. But I do believe, final thought on this question is that every player has a spot where everything just clicks in.
Sure.
And I do believe it was when I was with the Lightning.
Yeah.
And you have to be fortunate to play for the right organization, right coach with the right teammates, right line mates. And I found it here.
Yeah.
And it was with Vinny and Marty, and sometime with Ruslan. When Marty
That's-
was on the other line
Right.
with Richie and Freddie Moe. So it's very proud of that. But the friendship, it cannot, how I would say that, it cannot outdo the friendship.
Sure.
Or
That
the
outlasts
memories
friends
that
that- yeah.
that you get.
Pro, what made you click? Like for some of the younger fans or fans that don't know or didn't see you play, can you describe kind of what made you click on the ice? Like what did you bring to that line? And because I know what it is, but I want to hear you explain it.
I would say I brought the passing ability because Vinny, Marty, both great one-timers, both shooters, both players that love to score goals. To this day, if somebody, because I dipped into coaching a little bit, to this day, if somebody is not scoring, I would give the story. Marty wouldn't score, and he would be on the ice for 45 minutes on the morning skate, extra after the 10, 15-minute morning skate. He would stay there extra to shoot, to just find a way, to kind of get the feeling back, to do so much more, to do extra because he's a goal scorer. Vinny, a huge one-timer. Back then, probably one of the biggest players in the NHL,
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
And, I didn't mind going somewhere, get the puck, and look for them. Because I felt like at that time or throughout my career, what people would say, oh, he's a first mentality is passing the puck. At times it was not the right way because some of the coaches weren't too happy about it.
Sure.
But that's how I considered myself. And I also, in my mind, I brought something later on that I started going more in front of the net and I was screening. After I passed the puck, it took me to the net, and you sort of have to adjust, you sort of have to change to remain in the league, to kind of find your find your spot or keep looking for the spot so you can remain on those teams. But especially with these two guys, it was just like, I remember one shift in here, Marty goes like, Vaclav, how come you didn't pass me? I go, fuck, Marty, I passed to Vinny. There's only one puck, for fuck's sake. Sorry. And they go like, Marty go, I know, but I was open.
Right.
And it was something I do believe that was the ability that made me play successfully, especially with those two guys, because they were always open 24/7,
Right.
7-11.
Good players always are.
Right? Good players.
Sure.
And they always wanted the puck.
Yeah.
But we also click character-wise, we clicked personality-wise,
Sure.
and Vinny still lives here, and once a while we go to play golf, we go for coffee, we talk about hockey now because he's with the advisor role with the Canadians. Look what Marty is doing. I don't get to see him that often, but like Marty loved he loved to laugh. He loved to have fun.
Sure.
And it was in the practice, it was in the game, and he was so competitive. And also being so competitive, I like to believe that, being so competitive, that's what made me gel, especially with those two guys.
Yeah. So that competitiveness, having fun, one of the things that we talked about a little bit before was in practice. In practice, you used to have huge celebrations.
Oh, yeah.
In practice,
In
when you score a
practice.
goal, which is kind of a no-no for the most part.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious where that came from. And was there certain goalies that would get like really upset? Because I remember stories about Ron Hextall, like chasing players down, trying to tomahawk them when they celebrated on them when they scored in practice.
Oh, wow.
These things happen. So I'm sure you played in a long time with multiple goalies. I'm sure there were some guys that.
So I'll start with Hexy.
Sure.
Because when I got called up, Hexy and Gart Snow were the two goaltenders we had in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And to your point, I've seen with my own eyes that Ron Hextall, everybody knows how good of a puck handler he was, how well he shot the puck with the hockey stick.
Harder than some guys.
Yeah.
Probably than me, for sure.
Sure.
Carl Dijkhuis, on one morning skate, he went for a deke
Okay.
in one of the first shooting drills. Ronnie didn't like it.
Okay.
Boom, there comes the wrist shot right in here on the game day. Clipped him wide open. Wide open. He had to leave the ice, go get stitched up and everything like that.
Wow.
Nobody said a word to Hexy. Nobody.
Okay.
So now, having fun at the practice, scoring goals. Here's the saying: there's never enough goals.
Okay.
And everything starts in the practice. And I think when I came in here, we had Dave Andreychuk.
Yeah.
He could not skate for shit. That guy could not skate for shit. Like, he would not be able to play in today's game at all. At all. It's all about skating. But I never seen what I seen from him. He was always around the net. He was always able to flip it over the pad. He was always able to tip the puck. He knew, we talk about roles. He knew where his spot was. And we're doing a shooting drill, and I see there's a net, and Andy is shooting 6 feet wide. And I'm looking at him, but he shot right on the ice. The puck came back right from the boards, and boom, it's in the top shelf. And the goalie goes like, what the hell?
just happened, right?
What just happened? I think that was Nikolai Habibulin back then. And I go, Nikolai! And I go, so he knows he cannot beat Habe with his first shot, because we talk about Hexy shooting harder than some of the players.
Sure.
And it was the same way, But he knew how to adjust. He knew how to remain in the league, even though he's a former 50-goal-plus scorer in the NHL, right? So I started working on that, some of the stuff, and I started having a hell of a lot more fun, scoring goals, and it started in the practice. But I must say that 99% of the goalies They took it the right way. They knew that I'm trying to make myself better. They also knew when I'm coming in, they wanted to stop it twice as hard than, let's say, somebody else.
Right, made you better.
Exactly. Right. Who didn't really maybe care about scoring as much in a practice. And so I do look at it as like I try to make myself become better. And the goalies were trying to, get better as well because they tried twice as hard against me.
Right.
But there was always like, new guy was coming and I was always around the net trying to score on the rebound. I'm pretty sure they didn't like that.
Right.
The goalie coaches did not like that, but I think it just made us better.
Sure.
And it created a bit of a positive energy. It created a bit of a laughs because some guys in the line, they were saying, look at the fucking Prospal. What is he doing there? So maybe it just like lift up the mood a little bit more, especially when you're losing and sometimes everybody goes through the period of time when it's not going well or the player is not, and maybe it lift up the spirit a little bit. So, there's never enough goals and you have to you can't stop until the puck is in the net.
So, Wolfie, I was telling you before, one of the things when Pro got traded to us in Philly is I walk in and I'm looking at the stick rack and I'm looking at Vinny's stick. And we had Braydon Point on. We talked a little bit about his stick. And I'm kind of a stick nerd, and I know some people are listening are as well. But Pro has probably one of the most unique curves I've ever seen. It's like a paddle and then like a little toe and then almost kind of like it's just unique. I'm sure it was a pass first stick, right?
Yes.
Because you mentioned your shot was kind of more of a accuracy more than hard shot. But how did you develop that stick? Because you can't go to a store and buy the Vinny Prospal. Because
well, let's start with the shot. So we mentioned Torts. Torts called it the hoister out there. Okay? It wasn't even like the wrist shot or anything. It was a hoister somewhere,
Right.
But first of all, I started in the NHL as a center, so I was taking a lot of face-offs.
Okay.
And I felt like if I have a straighter stick, maybe it will give me a more advantage on the backhand side.
Okay.
Then, with the curve towards the toe of the stick, it helped me on the forehand side.
Okay.
Then we mentioned, changing your spot, changing your position within the lineup. You start going around the net. How are you going to lift it over the goalie's pads? I heard the saying, it's not going to go through the goalie's pads.
Right.
You have to either go, over it or beat him 5-hole or something like that, but it's not going to go through the pad. So that, over the years, but it really started in Ottawa, I think in 2000, 2001. To this day, I do believe my worst NHL season was when my first child was born. Huge adjustment, huge difference in my family life, in me. And the thing was, prior to that, I do believe I scored 20 plus goals, and next year I couldn't score. So I started fooling around with the hockey stick, and I came to this, and I seen. When I was starting, Vincent Damphousse was still playing. A really good hockey player, a great centerman I think he played for Montreal Canadiens. I think he finished with Colorado Avalanche back then. But a great player, and he had something similar to that. You mentioned Braydon Point. He's got similar kind of, not as straight, He's got a little bit of that hook, but he still has something on the and it helps him on the bumper position when Kucherov feeds him the puck and he just lifts it right there with not small windup. So it just developed over the time, and I got used to it and made me control the puck a little bit longer, a little bit better, and it was great for passing on both sides of the from both sides of the hockey stick.
So you've done some coaching, obviously. Served as the manager. I practiced my check here. You got to tell me if I'm saying this right.
Okay.
Served as the manager of České Budějovice.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not bad.
I practiced on my check over the week. But I mean, obviously, being in the coaching world, And like you said, you've had some great coaches along the way, Torts being one of them. What's some of the best advice or a life lesson that stuck with you that a coach gave to you?
That goes right from Torts, and it's simple. You go with your gut. Because, like, let's say, okay, Kobe is an established coach in the NHL. Hey, Kobe, we played together. Can we go for coffee? I have few questions. Can I ask you? Sure, Vinny, no problem. Let's go. Let's have a coffee. We start talking hockey. We have a conversation, and then the guy goes, I need to pick your brain. Mm-hmm. Like, what would you do in that situation? What do you do in this situation? It's simple. I can't really tell you because it's a heat of the moment. You have to decide right there.
Right.
You don't get it from the book. You gotta feel it. And it comes from your gut. Mm-hmm. So it's great to talk to other coaches. It's great to talk about drills. It's great to talk about system and stuff like that. But the biggest advice, or the best advice in my mind, is to be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else, and go with your gut.
Solid information right there.
Yeah. So when your coaching style, like, how would you describe it? Like, would you say you're trying to, one person had more of an imprint, we talked about Torts, and I know we talked about John Stevens, who you played with, but what's, like, I remember when we had Rick Bonus here, and I asked Rick one time, I was like, how did you decide how you wanted to coach? And Rick told me that, he said, my philosophy is I want to coach guys like I wanted to be coached as a player. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that relates to you at all, or
it makes a perfect sense because I do believe that I am at times too energetic. Like, I would have to, looking back now, because this is the second year that I have not been coaching. Mm-hmm. And when I watch hockey, when I watch certain sports, I look at the coaches now. Obviously, you look at the players, you look at how they react, you look at the systems and stuff like that. But I love to look at the coaches, how they are in the certain situation, how they react. At times, that's where I need to improve, because at times, not that necessarily I would lose my composure or something, but like I could be calmer. Going back to Rick Bonus, look, he's doing outstanding job as a head coach now. Mm-hmm. Was he as good when he was coaching Ottawa team as a head coach, let's say 20 some years back,
right,
25 years?
For him, right?
Yeah, I did not, but he was there before I got there.
Okay.
Was he like that? Or has he developed into a better coach over the years? Mm-hmm. I do believe it's also with the development that the coaches become better. So it's, I love to motivate players. I love to bring the energy, just like hopefully I do believe that I brought some energy as a hockey player. Mm-hmm. But also I have to choose the right assistant. When I was in České Budějovice, for 3 years, I had the guy who was very calm. He was like a brother for the players. Mm-hmm. So if the players had the issue, and sometimes they may have been scared to approach me, they went to see him, right? Mm-hmm. So it's, but the coaching style, energetic, I like to motivate people, but all I'm asking is for, to put everything on the line, to give everything they have. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about, like they say now, X's and O's. Right. We can talk about the system. But, like, if the players don't believe that you in the same boat with them, you going nowhere in my mind.
Right.
So,
coaching pros, coaching hockey, but you've also got very successful kids that play sports, and I'm sure you're very proud of them. How has your coaching with them been? Because you mentioned your daughter playing tennis, hitting balls with her. So that energy, have you been able to kind of transfer that to your kids and their passion for whatever sport they're in?
I wish I could do more there, but I think just being a Vinny Prospal dad and then Vinny Prospal a hockey player and Vinny Prospal coach, they learn along the way. Okay. You try to teach them, you try to tell them what what is a good thing to do in a team sport, what is not a good thing in a team sport, what is it to be a good teammate, what is expected like at certain situations prior to the game, after the game, stuff like that. Tennis is very much individual sport, but now college level where my daughter plays, it's a team sport because they have 9 girls there, you know. So, you know, my son was playing hockey until he was 21 years old. Even though now he still plays he started playing again for Florida University of Florida Gators, you know. So he can relate. Hopefully they learn something just with the way I carried myself at home, like how I prepared and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I think as a dad, it goes a long ways. And you know, it's really hard to coach your kids because, like,
dad.
you may be a dad and you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, the best thing, let's say, with hockey was that I could give my son the advice because I do believe that I know something a little bit about the game.
Sure.
But with tennis, the detailed info was on my daughter's coach, you know, because I wouldn't go you know, around him and say, no, you shouldn't play into the forehand. You should be doing this and that. No. Like, you have to know your spot,
right.
your role, where you at.
Step back.
But you can definitely tell her how to prepare,
Right.
what to do to make sure that the match starts now, not like in the middle of the first set.
Sure.
You know, and I think that's one of the huge advantage of the kids that grow up in let's say in our sport, in a hockey family, because if they smart enough and they can be more of a sponge and they can take more and more out of the individual that went through the highest level of playing,
Sure.
I think it will serve them you know, down the line. And I wouldn't say it's just in the sport, it's in the business in general.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah. That's
You know,
awesome.
those are lessons that they can take even farther.
That's good stuff, Vinny. I know we probably talked to you for hours, and I know we got to kind of wrap things up. But you've chosen Tampa Bay as your final spot. Why the Bay Area? What is it so much about Tampa Bay that you love being here?
Well, have you been outside today?
I have.
Yeah, it's just like my whole family. We love the ocean. We outdoor people.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the sky outside today. It's picture perfect.
Right.
And it's cooler in the morning, which is amazing. We're gonna miss that. Let's say in next 4 or 5 months, we'll miss
August,
that.
right.
But this is you know, to raise your family, it's very simple. It's shorts, t-shirts, flip-flops for, let's say, you know, 11, 12 months out of the year, you know, and it's an amazing spot. And I do believe that, like I mentioned, that, you know, every hockey player has a spot where everything just clicks.
Yeah.
It was the same thing for us with the way we first moved in here. And we last 2 children are born here in Tampa. So it's like we have the ties now.
Yeah,
and,
this is home.
you know, let me clarify. We have 2 homes,
Sure.
one in Czech and one here.
Of course.
And we're very fortunate we can call both places a home and we can travel between back and forth. And fortunate to be part of the community that, especially with the Lightning, people are going crazy about the game right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's great to see.
I have a friend, Kurt, who's a neighbor of yours, and I always ask him, I was like, you know, have you seen Prospal around? and Kurt always tells me, well, every once in a while I'll, you know, drive the boat by Pro's house, and in the backyard he'll see you out there in your Speedo tanning.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Said you always put a good tan on. And he said the other place he sees you all the time is on your bike. You're a huge bike fanatic. You love, so you're always in your spandex.
Spandex.
Are you on
Spandex.
Bayshore so we can look for?
No,
you're
I
just-
go towards the safety harbor. We have a beautiful trail there around the Rocky Point, and
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how it's called, but it goes, you know, that's a smaller smaller road.
Bridge,
bridge towards
the Courtney
Clearwater.
Campbell, yeah, the
Courtney Campbell,
yeah,
yes.
the bridge, the bike bridge that goes next to it.
Yeah,
that's tough because I mean that's a
well,
solid.
that's probably in the Tampa area. That's probably the highest
hill,
spot
like,
that,
Bro,
that you can
can we
go
expect to see you like Tour de France, or have you done
no,
those
no.
things? No,
it's amazing what those guys can do. I mean, I just love to clear my head. I love to be outside, and road cycling is great for the knees, and it's again, just like with everything, like some people probably look at, you mentioned sticks, like you crazy about hockey sticks.
Yeah.
The material what they put into those road bikes, it's amazing.
Right.
It's amazing, but there's no way I can be in the saddle for 6 hours, then come back home and do it again the very next day, just like they do it on the Tour de France.
So much.
Like, I don't even want to start about the doping, but for them I would allow it. It's incredible. I mean, the amount of distance there and the hills. Not the hills. Yeah. Those are not hills. Those are mountains. Right. It's amazing.
It's insane.
Amazing.
The pain. Yes. Oh man.
How's your body feeling? I mean, you feeling good? I mean, at this
amazing
stage in life, yeah.
Amazing. Very good. Very good. I mean, I gotta knock it on the teeth. I'm able to move around. I am able to be outside, play tennis, golf, go on the bike, and staying active, and try to remain young, because it's
looking young. You both look young, man. You guys look great, man, for your ages. Grandpa's. No, I'm just playing. All right, so listen, Vinny, like I said, I'm sure we could talk to you for hours, and we appreciate you taking time to join us on the block party. And again, I'm sure we're going to see you around these next few months as we continue to celebrate 30 years of Lightning hockey.
Probably the most energy we've had.
I know.
It's just like I feel like we've hardly spoke. We like to let Vinny go. It's been awesome.
It's been great, Vinny. So thank you for being on the block party, and we'll catch him around the way here soon. Bolts Nation, we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me, fellas.